let's start the first session. Sorry, the first speaker is Dr. Saji. The title is Constructing a Semantic System, a case of colors, emotions, and action event. Please start your talk.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for inviting me for this meetings. And my name is Noburo Saji. I'm from Warsaw University. My presentation title is Constructing a Semantic System, a case of colors, emotions, and action events. But in making my presentation, I found that I have no time to talk about the emotions. So today I talk about only colors and action event in this presentation. Okay, I start my presentation with episode, conversation with 7-year-old children, 7-year-old child. He is first grade elementary school student and began learning to write. So they began to find homonyms, the words which have same sound but different meanings. So he says, is stopping when walking the same as a butterfly approaching on the left? I'm not sure, but same, but no, they may be different. I thought that they may be written in different Chinese characters as Tomaru and Tomaru. And he continues, then how about staying at a hotel? So again, I have not sure. Of course, I know that the Chinese characters used in both cases are different, but the two may have some etymologies. His question never stops. Beautiful in the sky is beautiful, the same as the picture is beautiful. I'm sure, exactly they are same. But unexpected answer came back and they are totally different. Yeah, great, yeah. So I'm surprised that he did not find the essence of beauty common to sky and paintings. But on second thought, his answer makes sense because they are totally perceptually different. A painting and sky. But it is at the same time, it is true that the Japanese speakers subjectively find kirei in the sky, painting, music, or even clean room. Of course, it is a profound puzzle whether the essence of beauty is included in the outside world or linguistic categories lump them together. Yeah. I think, but this subjectively experience was a kind of a Qualia, and the experiment was at least partly constructed by language or cultural convention. Let's show another examples. I think the same situation can also be seen in the case of color domain. So I think this is a most famous and traditional experiment which examines the relationships between lexical knowledge and perception. And Kay and Kempton asked English speakers and Tarahumara speakers to evaluate which part is more similar to the center one. Tarahumara language don't have blue and green distinction, right? So what do you think Japanese speakers or Chinese speakers? I guess that so you think left two are the more similar than the right one? Yeah. Yes. These colors actually these colors are at the same distance on the master color chart, and English speakers typically respond that the left two colors are more similar than right one, but surprisingly, some Tarahumara speakers who don't have blue and green distinctions respond that the distance of three colors patch are the same. Hi.
Do they use the word distance spontaneously?
Yeah, no, same or not. So Yeah. Okay. So
Do you want yes or no?
yes or no? Yeah. Yeah. Same or not? Yes. Okay. Till there till after their studies, so many so many studies investigate that the relationships, the perception, the lexical knowledge, and linguistic. Most of studies reveal that the linguistic cultural experience unconsciously influence the non-linguistic perception. Yeah, and further, some linguists stress that concept of color is not even universal. It is created by a culture or language. Okay. So I think it is also important for studies on Korean structure to examine the effect of language or cultural invention. So today, my goal of my talk is that my specialty is language acquisition. So I'm talking about today language acquisition. So capturing, I'm going to capture the process of semantic acquisition in different domains, colors and action events, and examine the cross-domain consistency. I hope that discussion on semantic acquisition contributed to the studies of Korean structure. So I have studied semantic acquisition in some domains, color names and carrying whole verbs and ideophons and catching breaking verbs and manner verbs. And today I will introduce the color names and carrying whole events. Okay. First, I would like to introduce two very general theoretical perspectives of lexical development because they may be deeply related to Korean structures studies projects. Yeah. So traditionally, studies on lexical development depends on mapping metaphor. It regards lexical acquisition as mapping process between word and different in the world. In this line, most famous problem is Gabagay problem, proposed by Quine. Yes. Imagine that the child saw that large brown rabbit run across the field and caretaker points and say, Gabagay. What does he mean? One possibility is, of course, rabbit. But it is also possible that he means there goes the rabbit running across the field, or body parts kind of brown eye or long ears, or watch out, and even they are very tasty. Yeah. So they may yes. So there is so much going in our environment, and saying a word will not determine clearly what the speaker intends to refer to. So 1990s, many theories attempt to explain how children construct the possible reference of the world, and many constraints, biases, and cues are proposed. For example, syntactic cues or perceptual biases or statistical cues. And these studies are considers acquisition of word meaning is the process of mapping pre-existing perceptual categories and linguistic categories. But however, in the 2000s, the limitations of these studies become apparent, and many researchers come to recognize word learning does not end at the first mapping stage. So children's lexical knowledge at first mapping does not end at first mapping. So children's lexical knowledge at first mapping level are very different from those of adults. So to acquire full meaning of the word, children have to understand how many words exist in the lexical domain and the relationships among them. I guess the mapping metaphor, words mapping words to referent, and how constraints or biases limited the possibility. But 2000 system construction, we focused on the how word learning process going on as a system mapping, a system construction process. I guess the theoretical shift is much like the discussion on Qualia structure, right? Yeah, I hope my understanding is correct. Okay, next we go to action events. Yeah, carrying holding. Carrying holding domains. What do you think? What do you call these actions in your native languages? In Japanese. Yeah, I conducted experiment with Japanese speakers and get this is Japanese mapping naming pattern. We distinguish the picture by different verbs. So we have we Japanese have general verb motsu, so it covers the broad range of the events and 抱える、乗せる、担ぐ、掲げる。Okay. And this is a Korean speaker's pattern. Korean is very similar to Japanese. Yeah. Tilde means kind of motsu in Japanese, holding object, carrying object. Yeah. Kind of interesting is meta. Meta is not category. Japanese has these categories. Meta means kind of belt. So yeah, carrying or holding object by belt. Yeah. Okay, this is Chinese. Chinese distinguish these events all different verbs. So Chinese speakers. Beijing, yeah. It is very different. Depend on the area, north area or south area in China. This data is collected in north area of China. Yeah. Mandarin. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Around Beijing.
Beijing. Yeah. Around the Beijing. Yes. So research question is how do Chinese children construct this very complex system of verbs? And what is criteria children adopt to distinguish the events? Yeah. Okay, the experiments. So native speakers of Chinese 3-year-old and 5 and 7 and adults participated in the experiment. A set of 26 videos are showing syringe carrying actions and syringe holding actions prepared. And the syringe carrying videos were presented to the analysis. And the procedure is very simple. Participants are required to produce the best verb to represent the action in the video. And data preparation, matrices were created for each age group. In each matrix, there are 13 rows representing the videos and the columns representing the produced verbs. And the number of producing the verb was tailored in the cells. Okay, we simply calculate the correlation between children's matrices and adult matrix. So simply, correlation values with adult matrix increases linearly, but even in 7 years, correlation value is not so high. It means even 5-year-olds struggle with delineating the event by verbs. Okay, next, to examine what criteria children adopt to distinguish the events, we adopted Indascal model, a kind of MDS solution. Indascal provides two kinds of output. First, it identifies the common dimension underlying the production patterns of all age groups. Second, it identifies the weights each age group placed on each of common dimensions. This is individual space. So let's interpret the common space. the first dimension in the common space is easy to interpret. In negative direction, holding the events, holding object by hand were placed, and in positive direction, holding object with other part of the body is placed. And second dimension represents front-back distinction. In positive direction, the events of carrying object in front of them, in front of the body, and the negative direction on the back. And interestingly, as expected, there were large difference between children and adults in the weight they place on each dimension. This is individual space. This result suggests that young children evaluate the body orientation front-back distinction much more than adults. On the other hand, adults evaluate the feature of manner, specifically by hand or not, more than child, weighs much more than child. Next, dimension 3. Dimension 3 is also, again, simple. Simply, we can interpret the dimension 3. And thus it represents a type of object. In type of the object in positive direction, back, so carrying or holding back events are placed in the positive direction, and plate in negative direction, carrying holding plates events placed. So younger children give weight on the type of objects than adults. So in summary, children tend to focus on the properties of object, front or back, or plate or backs. Yeah. So rather than manner of the action. Adults are weighs on the manner of action to distinguish the event by verbs. Yes. I think it's presentable because the objects are more stable than the manner of actions. Yeah. Okay, so general discussion. So the acquisition of word meaning is based on semantic contrast of words from initial stage. So in color, both in color domains, in carrying actions, color was not acquired independently. In initial phase, they have several lexicon and several criteria to distinguish the colors or actions. Yes. So in other words, the word meaning is acquired in relation to the other words as a whole lexical structure. In each case, children starts. I think emotionally, I think same situation can be seen in emotion domain. Children start the 2 or 3 words to acquire the domain. Yeah, in initial stage. Okay. And future direction, I'm now interested in these problems. I think it is deeply related to studies on Qualia structure. First, how do semantic domain emerge? So I think one of the important cue is a linguistic context or linguistic interaction. Remember the 2-year-old child in the video I presented in the first half of the presentation. He was able to produce color word, right? Yeah. What is this? When he asked what is this, he does not produce fire trucks or police car, but red or blue or yellow. This is very important. The first step to construct lexical domains. And next, he mapped what color terms to correct reference, right? So linguistic context is the first step to construct the lexical domains. Yeah, then there can be strong cues to to get a structured domain. And so perceptual salient distinction also can be a great cue to construct domains. And next, how are domains related to other domains? It is important question, I think. So this is another example, another experiment. I showed this video to 3-year-old Japanese-speaking children and asked to produce a best verb. Most of 3-year children produce kiru, is what's to do this event. But interestingly, more younger 2-year-old children, some children produce butsu, kind of hitting. I think adult speakers do not produce butsu to the videos because we know butsu is belonging to the domain of kind of attack. So it is not fits the situation of cutting and breaking. So so children must learn the structure of word meaning, and not only the structure of lexical contrast, but also contrast of domains, the relationship between domains. So this is a very difficult question, a very interesting research theme. Finally, so I have to consider how does semantics acquisition in turn affect the perception or Qualia structures. Yeah. Thanks. That's one.
Thank you for a very interesting talk, Saji-san. We have about 9 minutes for questions and comment. Anyone?